What's going on, guys? Gomes here, back again on another MLB The Show 20 Diamond Dynasty video. Today I want to talk about Team Affinity. We're going to go through my Stage 2 predictions, going over every team, talking about what we should expect and what cards I think are going to come, and a whole bunch of stuff revolving around that. So before we get into this video, make sure to leave a like down below. It really does help out the videos a ton, helps them grow exponentially, and subscribe if you guys have not. We're getting really close to 32,000. Let's see if we can hit it today. So if you guys want to see tips, updates, gameplays, all that kind of stuff, it's going to be on this channel. Now, a couple groundwork things I don't want to talk about. One, there is no official release date yet. I would expect that it probably would have been released by now. I don't know what the delay is. When they were in the initial live streams, they said it's going to be pretty close after launch. It is a spring expansion. I would think it's going to be before the third inning program, which is on May 1st. So hopefully the end of this week or maybe next week we hear an announcement, and it's going to come out sometime probably in a week or two would be my expectations. Now, talking about the card series, because this is a hotly contested topic, and we talked about this on my Twitter. I've mentioned it a couple times. If you guys don't follow me on Twitter, by the way, it's in the comment section, it's in the description, twitter.com/GomesDaLegend. Go ahead and drop me a follow. But we talked about it, and at first I thought it was going to be the show classics, but it is not going to be the show classics. I am almost completely positive with that, because they have player of the month. We're doing flashbacks, which completely makes sense. That's how I would do it given the circumstances as well, but that pretty much nullifies the possibility of having the show classics for Team Affinity, because the show classics run from 17 and 18 MLB The Show games, and it has postseason cards, future stars, player of the month, and finest. And having no player of the month takes out guys like the Orioles. They don't really have cards because they didn't make the postseason. The future star cards weren't particularly great, and the only finest card came from last year, so that's not going to happen. Another thing a lot of people have been thinking is it's going to be future stars or prospects, because if you do go inside the Team Affinity and it says right here Stage 2 coming in the future stars, prospects, I don't think that's going to happen. Why? The top prospects are already in the game. If you think about Wander Franco, if you think about Jesus Luzardo, guys like that, they're only 90-91 overalls, and those have already been taken care of. And think about a team like the Astros. They have one guy in the top 100, Forrest Whitley. He's already been used, so they wouldn't have a diamond. It wouldn't make sense, so I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to see flashback and legend cards at 120 for the Stage 2 for the Spring Team Affinity expansion. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into this one and start with the Baltimore Orioles. I went one or two players for each team. Dennis Martinez is a brand new legend this year. You can see a rough sketch of his stats. Keep in mind, some of these, I do think that exact flashback card is going to come in. Sometimes you'll notice the overall doesn't exactly add up. We saw 85 to 89s for Stage 1 Team Affinity. I would imagine probably 87 to 91, somewhere in that range. Dennis Martinez, brand new legend. His best years were probably with the Expos, but he did do pretty well with the Orioles as well, and it'd be cool to see a new legend into the game such as him. Chris Davis, of course, I think this one's pretty likely. Of course, the Orioles didn't get off on a great start with Trey Mancini. He's only an 85 overall. Chris Davis could be really cool. He'd be one of the best bench bats right now. We need a really good power lefty, and he would be somebody great to just throw in off the bench. We're going to go pretty quickly on these if you guys can't tell. Here we have Jacoby Ellsbury. He was the collection reward from last year. They usually like making cards that were a little bit tough to obtain, a little bit easier the next year. So collection reward for the Red Sox, a little bit easier this year if he's a Team Affinity. Not great defense, really good speed. That's pretty good, I guess. Dustin Pedroia, looking at him, this would be a cool card. He didn't really get a flashback. He only had a signature, and by the time he was released, there was a lot of better cards. He's always has a really good swing, and this might be the last year we have Dustin Pedroia, so I'd really like to see a good card for him be available in the Team Affinities. Robinson Cano, once again a collection reward, and another reason, well, he's a collection reward this year for the Mariners, but it's not a particularly good Robinson Cano, and this one would be usable. You know, nice lefty bat, always has a good swing, really good defense at second. Here we have Ron Guidry, of course. I always keep in mind that for the most part, if there is a pitcher for their stage 1, I try to not make it a pitcher the second time. Likewise, if there's a third baseman for the first time, I try to not make it a third baseman for the next time with my predictions. Ron Guidry has a wipeout slider as his primary. He doesn't throw too hard. I haven't really used him all that much, but we definitely need lefty pitchers, that is for sure. Fernando Rodney, there's not many guys really possible for the Rays because they don't have many legends, as Aubrey Huff is no longer in the game. And this card would be great. Circle changeup really mixes well with that 98, 99 mile-an-hour fastball with the slider. Really good pitcher right there. Ben Zobrist would be probably the only other possibility. And, you know, this is always a good card. He can play anywhere. He's one of the best utility guys that we usually see in the game. Next up, Edwin Encarnacion. The Blue Jays had Donaldson, who I would love to see. He had a 91 overall card in MLB 18. However, Vlad's a third baseman. He was their stage 1. I don't think they're going to double up. This card, of course, cannot field whatsoever, but he is going to hit home runs. You don't get him for the defense. Another brand new legend. This is going to be Mark Burley. He does not have a card, or at least a good card yet in the game. Not a strikeout pitcher, not a velocity pitcher. He pitches to contact, so I expect a really high hit 9 and really good control out of Mark Burley. Moving on for the White Sox, still Paul Konerko. He's another guy who I'd love to see. He didn't get a good card last year until the very end, so not a whole lot of people used him. And I would really like to see this card, you know, even this, if it was on paper, just like this, 110 power against lefties is really, really good. Always something you can use. Larry Doby, this would be a really good card. I remember using him back in MLB 18. He was a career arc and really solid. 60 speed, 80 fielding, good power against righties, and still good contact and vision against lefties. So Doby would be a nice possibility, as well as Kenny Lofton. Again, collection reward last year would be easier this year. This would be one of my favorites out of the bunch by far. Top-notch speed, diamond defense, some of the best contact. Basically the 93 Ichiro from last year with a little bit more power, but none of the arm. Here's what I mean about overalls. Alan Trammell, we haven't seen a middling overall card like a 90, 91, which is more so what I'd expect. I don't think we're going to see any 94 overalls, but this just gives you a good sketch of what a card of his stature might look like. Never really used Alan Trammell cards. They usually come out at times. I know he was in the reward path last year, but believe it or not, he wasn't my first choice. I picked Kershaw and I picked Nolan Ryan ahead of him. Sue me. Zach Greinke, also really good. Always has good BB per 9, especially now in his career. Always wonder why this is such a low overall, considering how good he was for the Royals back in the day. Another option, a Greg Holland card. I think these are usually pretty solid. Yes, he only has 3 pitches, but they're really good. 4-seam slider and a splitter, and he throws 99 mile an hour with 115 K9. So this Greg Holland could be really, really nice to see. Rod Carew, this card is always amazing because he has such good contact. He has great vision, never a bunch of power, but decent speed, not great defense, but I really love his swing and stance a lot. So Rod Carew could be good to see. Bert Blyleven, I loved his signature card last year. This one in particular probably wouldn't be as good just because he has only 4 pitches, 2 of them are fastballs, the 2-seamer not really that usable, but I think it is a pretty likely card, especially considering if we just got him, like Harmon Killebrew, we just got a card of him. I don't think it's that likely that we're going to see him 2 weeks later once stage 2 is announced. Garrett Anderson, of course, this is a guy who I'm talking about. The overall is way higher than we'd actually see, but I think he'd be a really good guy to put there. You know, just on paper for this one, really good contact, 110, 80 power, 111 vision, not great defense, but overall a very solid card. Troy Percival, talk about hard to get. He was the Angels collection reward, which of course means you have to have Mike Trout. This is by far the hardest team to collect last year, so I didn't really get a chance to use this one. I know he had a signature that came out a bit later, but he would be a good option for the Angels as well. For the Athletics, you have Catfish Hunter. I feel like he never gets good cards in the game. He got a signature last year, but usually he's never gotten good flashbacks for as long as he's been in Diamond Dynasty. Felix, oh baby, would I ever love to see this card card being a Team Affinity. That would be awesome. Yes, I know he has an 86 that is for the event, but if you give him like a 90, 91 overall card, you know, separate between the highest one that he's going to get this year, it would be amazing because he has some of the best pitches you could ask for. Jay Buhner, I know he had a Team Affinity last year. Why not give him another? I thought he was one of the best Team Affinities last year because he has really good arm, pretty good defense, and really good power. One of the last ones for the American League, we have Nelson Cruz. Yes, his offense looks a lot like Live Series. The difference, he is like 20 more fielding. He's actually going to be able to catch a fly ball, or at least as much as you can in MLB The Show 20. Yu Darvish, I would really like to see like a good 90, 91 overall card. Talk about mile per hour differential. He always has a super slow 12.6 compared to his four seam, and this year I just think he'd be really good. Has a lot of movement on that cutter and slider, and then not great walks per 9, but really good hit and K per 9 as always. Mike Scott, always love him in the game. Splitters work really well for me this year, and whenever I've used him last year and MLB 18, I always thought he was a really good pitcher. Warren Spahn, I'll be honest with you, I would get this card and would never use it. He has a 10-second windup, not even going to go over that card just out of spite. Fred McGriff, talk about legends for the Rays, don't think so. He's only gotten a gold ever for the Rays. This would be a nice little card for the Braves that they could get. I also consider Joe Torre, the one from last year. Good splits against right-handers. This could be a nice little card. Another one that would be one of my favorites, of course it wouldn't be a finest card because that would be more so the Show Classic, but make a flashback JT Realmuto from the time he spent in Miami. I think that would be a really good card, and it would probably be better than the Phillies. I know you can argue he's had better years with the Phillies, but you can finagle it somehow. There's not a whole lot of options for the Marlins just based off, you know, Stanton. I don't think he'd get a card like a 90 overall. We already just got a Hanley Ramirez. Cliff Floyd would honestly probably be my favorite to pick from those, though. He has a great swing, and if you could make like a 90 overall Cliff Floyd, I think that would be a really good card to have. I like this one a lot. He was one of the first starter diamonds that I picked up last year in Diamond Dynasty. Gary Carter, I was having trouble finding nationals for this one. This is his career arc from MLB The Show 18. Nice gold defense, 87 blocking, hits lefties real well, holds his own against righties thanks to that 93 vision, which is kind of an oddity for catchers right now. That'd be cool to see. Matt Harvey, this one would be one of my favorites. I don't think the Conforto is all that good for the Mets, and I kind of think that that's something they might want to do. If they take a not so good stage 1 Team Affinity and have a better one, that makes sense, rather than just always making the Orioles perpetually bad. Granted, that would be kind of realistic to real life, making them perpetually bad, but Matt Harvey, 4 pitches but throws gas and is always really good in the game, I find. Daniel Murphy would be cool as well. Of course, he has no defense whatsoever, but postseason hero for them back in 2015. Great swing, lefty bat, a lot of power. Would be cool to see as well. A lot of vision on that card. Cole Hamels, another guy. We always get all or nothing. It's a 85 overall, low diamond, or it's his signature from last year. If we can get like a 90 overall card somewhere in the middle, I think that would be really cool. He always has really good pitches. We just don't get to see a souped up version of him. Richie Ashburn, I don't know how usable he would be because he has literally no power. He has contact, he has vision, he doesn't have power, so that's another guy who I think would be likely for the Phillies. For the Cubs, they have a lot of options. They have the Chris Bryant. We're looking at Ernie Banks right here. Gold defense, of course, great power. This might be a little bit unrealistic to think that he's going to be in a Team Affinity, but hey, I can hope at the end of the day. Fergie Jenkins would be great as well. Always has good pitches. He has a two-seamer, forkball, slider. I think this would be a cool card to see. I usually like him in the game. 97 walks per nine as well, which of course is really needed this year, especially with the lack of pitcher control. Johnny Cueto, once again, somebody who I don't think got a really good card last year. Didn't get a signature, I don't believe, but I would love to see him in the game. I like his pitch mix a lot, his repertoire. Tony Perez, haven't really used his cards in the past just because he's usually not that fast and there's better options, but he always has really good offensive stats. Ryan Braun would be a nice one to see. Not gonna play defense for you, but this one, 100 plus contact both sides, good power, 80 vision, 70 speed would be really nice to see. Robin Yount, 87 overall, probably would want a little bit higher. Usually has really good defense, good speed, and not a whole lot of power, but good contact and vision on him. Bill Mazeroski, I used his signature for just a little bit last year. I was a pretty big fan of it. Diamond defense at second base is nice to see. Would like to see better speed, but is going to hit lefties pretty well with that contact and 98 vision. Dave Parker, I remember using this card in MLB 18. I was a big fan because he has great defense, 96 arms, 67 speed, a good swing, a lot of contact, and just enough power to hit home runs. The Wizard Ozzie Smith, again, no contact, all defense, 99, 97 reaction, 87 speed, switch hitter with a ton of vision. I think this card could be useful, if nothing else, for a pinch runner that you can use at the end of games, or just a defensive juggernaut to hopefully make sure that you're going to make any defensive play that comes your way. Matt Williams for the Diamondbacks, this card I wish would be a little bit better. He actually had a pretty good 1999, so I think they could build on top of it. The D-backs don't have a whole flurry of legends in the game. They have like the Finley, but his overall is very similar to the one for the Padres right now. Then they have Luis Gonzalez. Justin Upton's another possibility. Remember this card from 18, nothing against righties really, especially with that vision, but would be a great bench bat to have once again. Dante Bichette. Rockies again don't have a whole lot of legends. I know they added Todd Helton, but it'd be cool to see like a Larry Walker this year. Dante Bichette, no defense, but a ton of contact and a ton of power. Oro Hershiser, I think this would be one of the best team affinities by far. For sure the best pitcher one that you could conjure up. The sinker is almost a necessity this year. It has great per-nines, has great stuff, and a great motion on top of it. Matt Kemp, believe it or not, is still in the game hit, or at least his player model is. So I believe this card would still be able to be made. I think they still have his rights and would always be really good. Only downside is the vision, but 54 is good enough for now, at least until we really start to get some of the better pitchers in the game. It's not like Aaron Judge level. Benito Santiago obviously would not be a gold card, but defensive catcher with a good amount of speed, kind of like a JT Realmuto, except not as good offensively. Possibility for the Padres. Juan Marichal for the San Francisco Giants. Once again, throws real slow, 92, 93 miles per hour. Has a lot of junk low, a screwball, a curveball, a slider, a lot of movement, a lot of break. And finally, the only card we're looking at from MLB 17 is postseason Pablo Sandoval. They never included this card since then, I don't believe, which I don't get why. They don't have the catcher secondary, but I would love if they did add that. Of course, this is from his 3 home run game in Game 1 of the 2012 World Series, but this would be a great card to have. A lot of power for a switch hitter with good vision, and if you have the catcher secondary, he will be just an upgraded version of the Carlos Santana. And that's going to do it for this video, going over literally every team. We talked about nearly 60 cards. Those are my predictions. I think it's going to be Legends, and I think it's going to be Flashbacks. I think that's the most likely thing. There's nothing else other than a brand new card series that I think that they would introduce, and I don't think they're going to have a second face of the franchise, because in a lot of terms that doesn't make sense. The Orioles isn't going to be a John Means. It would be worse than a Trey Mancini, which that doesn't make sense if you're going to progressively upgrade the other team affinities. So let me know your predictions down below in the comments section for the team affinity stage 2. Like I said, hopefully within before the 3rd inning program on May 1st, that is going to come out and we get a lot more stuff to grind for. So if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like down below. Thank you all for watching. Hope you guys have a great day. There comes out. Yes.